Okay, if you recovered from the domain video and you're ready to get to composition of functions, here we go. And so how this is read is, you can see right here, f composed with g equals f of g of x. So if you see this notation here, it's f of g of x. This notation here is f composed with g. And what that means is we are going to take our function, and we would first evaluate what that function is for g, and then we would take that answer that comes out and plug it in for f to see what comes out of it. So we'll get to evaluation when I do a real life example, but what we first have to do is come up with the equation. And so let's just take a look here. I've got two functions, f of x equals x plus 2 and g of x equals 4 minus x squared. And so what I'm saying here is f composed with g is going to equal f of g of x. That's how that's written. That's what we're going to try to find. What would the equation be if I did f of g of x? So what that means is we're going to take g of x and substitute that in to the f of x function. And so that's no different. If I'd had f of x equals x plus 2, this function right here, and this x right here was negative 2, that means anywhere we see an x in the function f of x, we are going to replace it with a negative 2. And so I'd put negative 2 into here, and negative 2 plus 2 would be 0. And that would be the answer. It's the same thing we're doing here. Only what we're doing is we're saying anywhere that you see an x in the function f of x, we're going to replace it with the function g of x. So let's start by writing our f of x function. Anywhere we see an x, we're going to replace it with g of x. So right there, we're going to replace that with g of x. And so what we end up getting is 4 minus x squared plus 2. So nothing changed in my f of x function. Instead of in x, I replaced it for what it told me to replace it with, which was g of x, 4 minus x squared. And so if it helps you, you can rewrite this function as f of x, x plus 2, and then just change the x to g of x, and then on the next line, replace your g of x with 4 minus x squared, if that helps you. But now all we have to do is simplify. So 4 and plus 2 becomes 6, and so we have negative x squared plus 6. And that's what we're looking for. F composed with g equals negative x squared plus 6. Or f of g of x equals negative x squared plus 6. And again, we have to look at domains, just thinking about that here. All reals here, all reals here. So all reals will work here. And look, you know that. You can pick any number in the world, substitute in for that x, and you're going to get an answer. Now let's just try to flip the script a little bit. Now we're going to go g composed with f of x equals g of f of x. That's an x. G of f of x. And so we're going to start with our g of x function. 4 minus x squared. And now what I'm going to do is anywhere that I see an x, I'm going to replace it with the function f of x. And so I would rewrite this as 4 minus, now I have an x here, so I'm going to replace that x with x plus 2. That's a parenthesis. X plus 2, because that is what my f of x function is. And then we have to remember that it's squared because of the g of x function, 4 minus x squared. So now I have to evaluate. So I'm going to take 4 and I'm going to subtract x plus 2 squared. So let's rewrite this here. 4 minus whatever x plus 2 squared is. And remember, what that means is you have x plus 2 times itself. That's a 2. 2. And so you got x times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. 2 times x is 2x. And 2 times 2 is 4. And so 2x plus 2x becomes 4x. And so now I essentially have two functions. I have the function 4 minus x squared plus 4x plus 4. And so I have to distribute that negative. Yeah, you guys got to remember to do that. Anytime that you have a negative in front, you got to distribute negative, negative, negative. So my final answer is going to be 4 plus negative x squared minus 4x minus 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. So I really just have negative x squared minus 4x. Dang. And so if you want to check your work, because all of you are great students and you want to check your work, pick a number and first plug it into the first function and then take that answer and plug it into the second. So my example is we're going to use the number 2 to check our work because we're good students. So in this first example, f of g of x, I'm going to take 2 and plug it into g of x. So 2 squared is 4, 4 minus 4 is 0. Now I'm going to take that answer and plug it into f of x. 0 plus 2 is 2. So when I use 2, f of g of x should equal 2. Let's plug it in. 2 squared is 4, negative 4 plus 6 is 2. Wow, that was awesome. Let's go over here and check our work. Now it's g of f of x. So I'm going to plug 2 in to this equation first. 2 plus 2 is 4. And I'm going to take that answer and plug it in here. And so 4 squared is 16, and 4 minus 16 is negative 12. So hopefully if I plug 2 into this equation, I get negative 12. Let's check it out. 2 squared is 4. Negative 4 minus 4 times 2 is 8. Negative 4 minus 8 is negative 12. Wow, checking our work has never been so much fun. That is all. Goodbye.